translate into the patient care always. Our systems of examination, our systems of training we have to accept they are inadequate. They are inadequate to make us the best of the doctors that we can.
So thank you so much for joining us today. If you could just introduce yourself for our audience in a few words.
Okay, so hello and thank you for your invite. I'm Dr. Sushant Shinde. I'm a physician. I've done my MD medicine from AIIMS and subsequently I've worked in the field of rheumatology. So my practice is largely in the field of rheumatology. I am also a medical educator, so I like teaching and interacting with undergraduate students. I am the founder of Quest Medical Academy. It's an endeavor into medical education. We try to build around the idea of concept-based learning rather than exam-oriented learning. I'm also working in the field of health economics and philanthropy in that as well. So yes, that's about it.
Thank you, sir. So a few doubts that students commonly have, we've just gathered them for you and we'll be asking a few questions.
So NEET or next, whichever exam that you prepare for in the Indian context, I think preparation for exam technically starts from day one, because the syllabus for that exam is right from your first year till your final year, and also what you do during your internship. A lot of practical stuff is also being asked. But if you ask me, should a student start thinking about that exam from day one, I would say no. But you have to be aware of the fact that whatever you're reading right from the beginning, it's going to apply over there. And the way our curriculum has been built, it really builds one upon another. So the first year lays the foundation. By the second year, you are into your pre-clinicals, and the third and the final year are your clinical subjects. You cannot study them in isolation. So for example, you cannot expect to understand cardiology in medicine without understanding physiology, the cardiac physiology in the first year. So it's a continuum really, and your final exam, whether it's NEET, next or any other exam, eventually is trying to assess you on all of them. Let me give you an example. If you get a question on myocardial infarction, that question could belong to pharmacology, that question could belong to medicine, that question could also have an applied physiology which is really being asked. So how do you say that one question, did you start preparing for that in the first year or in the final year or in the second year? There is no real answer over there. So I would say the exam is going to ask you a lot of things, and you are going to collect them over your journey of 4.5 years or more. But it's important that you keep that thing in your mind, but don't start thinking that I'm preparing for that exam really from first. Let me change your question a little and answer it again. If you ask me how much time is required to crack that exam, then I would say it would be just few months. If you are a good student who has prepared well or who has learned well for the first few years, if your concepts are well in place, if you have understood why you read what you read and you know how to apply it, if you have been a regular, a very consistent student, you don't need to be someone who needs to be topping your universities to do good in those exams. If you want a seat of your choice, I think you can get them even by being an average student for all the 4 years. And if you have been an average student for 4 years, I would say it would take somewhere between 3 months to at the max 6 months to crack that exam. So if you ask me when should I start studying for that exam, I would say that would be, as far as my understanding goes, towards the end of your journey, towards very close to the exam, because that's when you need to summarize everything that you have learned. But doing that for 4.5 years is really a waste of time. So of course, one big thing there was my own education. So I've done my undergraduation from a private medical college. I'm very glad of the place. I'm very proud of the place where I did my undergraduation from. That was Krishna Institute of Medical Sciences, Karad. And I did my post-graduation at AIIMS, New Delhi, which again is a wonderful place to be. And they were quite different places, and the experiences there molded the way I practice today. And eventually, I had to come to terms with this, which all the doctors do eventually realize, is that our marks do not translate into the patient care always. Our systems of examination, our systems of training we have to accept they are inadequate. They are inadequate to make us the best of the doctors that we can be. There is much more that goes into becoming a doctor, and that is where the thought of Quest came in. That can we try to cater to those other unaddressed needs of education, which help us to become better doctors of tomorrow, which help all of you. I mean, the generation which follows us now is your generation. So can we go back and give to you those aspects which I feel if you were told to me as a second year student or as a final year student, I would have done slightly better than what I'm doing right. And I feel that's where Quest comes in. It's not about exams. Let me also tell you why I have this problem with the exam part. Of course, I've been at my time in my career a topper thing, at least as far as the entrance goes. That's how you land up in AIIMS. But you have to realize one very interesting fact about an exam. Let's say you take a medicine exam, an MCQ-based exam. In an MCQ-based exam, let's say you have 4 options. One of them is right. If you don't mark the right answer, you have marked something else, which means something else has confused you, right? But for the examiner, as a student, you have made a mistake between 2 options. The right option, you have not marked it, you have picked up the wrong option. Let's assume that scenario. In that scenario, when the examiner looks at you, first, the whole MCQ gets 1 point, right? So we have discarded all the information that you gave us about what did you learn. We discarded this information that you got confused between option A and C. We just saw that you were wrong. We did not see what mistake did you really make. So we have kind of excluded that data from our analysis and our feedback to you. Second, we took 10 such questions, one from cardiology, one from surgery, one from obstetrics, one from physiology. We took all those questions together and said, what were all the mistakes that you did? Let's discard them. Let's take whatever right you did. Okay? Then we compared all of this with other people who made some other rights. By the time we come to the result, we are comparing only numbers. What you actually made wrong is lost forever. I mean, it's like saying that if you made a mistake somewhere, you compensated by doing something right somewhere else, it's okay, you're fine to go ahead and become a doctor, right? We have excluded so much of crucial information of what mistakes you have made. That examination system, and this is not a critique of an examination system of India. This is across the world, and educators across the world have been talking about this, that the way exams are assessing students is giving out a lot of information. We are missing out on a lot of data of what is going wrong in students. So there is increasingly this cry across the literature, across the global literature on education, on higher education, that we need to shift from these time-bound education systems that you need to do 1 year of first year, 1.5 year of second year, then 1 year of final year, and 1 year of third year. Those time-bound education systems, those marks-based education systems should be replaced by competency-based education system, where what we test you for and what we train you for is not to complete that 1 year by hook or by crook, not to get those few MCQs right by a certain margin ki itne MCQs right aa jaye, baki galat ho gaya chalega, but competency. How have we trained you to apply your knowledge? How have we trained you to become the scientist of tomorrow and the compassionate human being of tomorrow? So these are aspects which really fall out of the mainstream. Now the problem which all educators across the world have understood is that delivering an education system which is competency based is very difficult. The present education system allows us technically a mass production. You can do MCQs very easily. I give you 10 MCQs, it becomes very easy for me, the educator, to know okay, who's doing well. But that is ease of operation. That's not necessarily a good learning platform. So my problem is we are training you for performing well, not necessarily learning well. So Quest as an idea is this idea that we need to train you for your competency. We need to address and give you feedback on what mistakes you are doing. We need to personalize your education for you. We need to see to it that you are able to apply everything together. We need to talk to you and discuss with you things like communication skills, like things like compassion, things like empathy, things like business development, things like how do you understand health economics. These are the real world questions for all doctors, and they are just missing from our curriculum because they are very difficult to assess. They can't be fed into an exam pattern, right? So we are leaving out on so much just because it doesn't fit our exam pattern. That's my problem with the exam pattern, and that's the answer to that problem is hopefully, at least in part, is what Quest is trying to do. It's a very good question, and I should give a disclaimer here right at the beginning before I try answering that question, that I also technically run and own what is called a coaching class. Though I don't look at Quest as one, but yeah, it technically falls within that same category. So with that disclaimer, let me try to answer that question. I think the answer is yes. Sadly enough, the answer is yes. Yeah, I say sadly because, well, our education system, like our overall healthcare system, is under a lot of stress. Our medical education system has a lot of dilemma for our educators, for our teachers. They are stressed. I'm talking about teachers in the medical colleges. They are stressed because of the amount of work that they are going to face somewhere else, and also the teaching part that comes towards them. From the student perspective also, over the last few years that I've been watching this scenario, I find that students also, because of the huge curriculum that we have, kind of get lost in what really is the focus. What do I need to focus on when I'm preparing? Because they do not get the focus right, it is possible that a student puts in a lot of effort and yet doesn't get a feedback, doesn't get a kind of response from the education system, the grading from the education system, which he or she feels that this is up to the level of effort I put in. And that can really depress people, that can really kind of be a negative feedback for them, that they stop putting in more effort. They think I have put in so much effort, I did not get a good rank, so why do I need to do it any further? So yes, I think classes play a role over there. They give you an orientation of what really, if you put your efforts here, you would do better, and if you can kind of put less effort on a particular aspect, it still might be okay. So in that sense, yes, most of the classes which exist around for these entrance exams, I think they are doing a good job. In the last 2 or 3 years, there has been a big shift in this scenario also in the private teaching which occurs for medical education. A lot of online players have come in, and I've seen the kind of lectures which are available for free, and some of them are paid. They're amazing quality of education that is really happening now. So I think for the student today, it's really tough that even if she or he wants to do a self-study and not really look at anything, it's tough. You just need to go to the YouTube and find really amazing sources right now. So, and if there are such wonderful sources available, some for free, some for paid, I don't see a reason why they should not be made use of. So yes, I don't think it's a good idea right now to say I will do only self-study. But there's another parallel to this question. If I do join a class, does that guarantee that I'm going to get a good rank? I don't think that should be an assumption by anybody. I don't think students assume that, but I think sometimes they forget the fact that why have I joined the class? What is it that the class is really going to offer? So most of the coaching classes today offer you lectures, they offer you tutorials about what about a particular topic is being described in details, but they also offer you assessments. They offer you maybe that once in a month test, once in a year test, once in 6 months test, whatever, some kind of grand test or something, whatever they call it, but there are some tests which are going to be available. These tests are going to be a window for a student. So if I'm a student, if this test is a window for me to compare at a given point of time, how much is my knowledge compared to my peers across India? That is a very important reason to join the class. So I feel a lot of students join the class, but listen to the lectures, avoid giving the assessments. If that's the approach, it really fails. It doesn't really convert into much. But if your approach is to assess yourself and use these tools by the classes, different tools, the question banks, the assessments, the mock tests, whatever that the classes offer, if that is what you're going to use, I think that's a good use of the class. And if you do that, I go back to my first point, 3 to 6 months, 3 to 5 months is good enough time to clear an exam. You don't really need to listen to all the videos and all the classes diligently. Of course, once you've joined the class, I'm not saying don't do it, but I'm saying that's not what's going to give you the result. Listening to a good lecturer is not going to give you results. Applying that yourself, making your own mistakes in those grand tests, and using that platform to judge yourself across the pan-India rankings, focusing on the rank, a good strategy, that's what gives you a rank. And their coaching classes do have a role. So whenever I talk to my batchmates or my seniors, we always feel, and I think this will happen to you as well when you guys become my age, that we always feel our batch was better, abhi ke bacche bichare kya kar rahe hain, right? So that feeling is, I think it's a generation gap. But I should admit, I really feel that a lot of students put in tremendous amount of effort and don't really get that well matching a rank. So one thing I would say, balancing is the question you've asked me. I would say the balance needs to have one more component, that is your social life, which you didn't ask me about. So I feel as a student, it is very important that students should not lose track of the idea that eventually you are teenagers, you are some 20s is your age. Don't get too lost in this rat race. This time is really not going to come back. So I feel one of the most important aspect is to figure out that you have complete right to enjoy your life at this point of time. Please exercise that right, and have time for your friends, for your friend circle, for your social work, and the social gatherings and everything. Have time for that, right? So keep that in place. I like to say it this way, that the fight is going to be only for the last few months. if you try to for the entrance exams, if you try to work for that entrance exam for few years, what you're basically doing is you're burning out yourself. You're going to tire of yourself just because you kept on thinking about it for too long, preparing it for too long, way beyond it was going to be fruitful. I mean, it's really anybody's guess to say that right now what I had read 3 years back, ask me a question, I'll answer. It's just not possible. You make me sit right now for a competitive exam and tell me you have read something 3 years back, answer a question on that. I'm like, I can't do that, right? But if someone is right now thinking I'll start preparing from now and prepare for 3 years, most of your colleagues will say, wow, bahut acha kar rahe ho, right? I think that's a little stupid. So we don't need to spend so much time behind these exams. Enjoy your life right now, because promise yourself that if I enjoy this time and do my studies regularly, I don't need to be studying a lot, but if I do them regularly, I'll save that mental space for myself. When the time comes, I will use that mental space to fight. When the time comes, I will dedicate 14 hours a day and 15 hours a day to study for those few weeks, and I'll crack the exam. I mean, that's smart strategy, that I prepared for the entire year. I had my own time, I enjoyed with my friends, but when the right time came, I started studying, and those few weeks I got it. That's it, right? That's a much better plan than thinking कि मैं 5 साल पढ़ने वाला. Now coming back to what do I do then in these 5 years, I think what you need to do is, one, from second year onwards, start attending clinics. I know this year 2020 has been tough for a lot of students. Clinics have not happened because of COVID, of course. But whenever they restart, please start attending clinics. What you learn in the clinics is there is no replacement to that in the entire medical education platform. Nothing, no class, nothing can replace that. So let's be very clear on what are non-negotiables that you need to have time for. So one is having your social space, your social time. It's non-negotiable. It's not an option कि मैं time pass करूँ कि नहीं. मुझे लगता है करना ही चाहिए. वो नहीं करोगे तो बाकी कुछ नहीं कर पाओगे. Second, clinics. You need to reach out and see patients. You need to be there. How much of a boring it might sound in the beginning, make it a part of your personal strategy that end of the day, this is what I'm training for. End of the day, I'm training to be in such clinics and in such wards and be the person who the entire unit, the entire team looks up to. I might be the junior most today, but in times to come, I'm going to be the senior most in this setting. This is my home ground. This is my home turf. I need to build my stamina. I need to build my thinking in this scenario of a clinic. So be in the clinics. Be with bedside and focus on that. Third, I would say decide on some time that you are going to read every day. Of course, that every day doesn't need to be 7 days a week. It could be maybe 5 days a week or 6 days a week. But that time, I'm going to do nothing else. I'm definitely going to read something. And if you're far away from the exam, let's say your second year has just begun or your third year has just begun, you don't need to think about what am I reading for the exam. You need to read just so that your knowledge about that particular topic goes up. Fourth, I would say stick to big books. I'm a big fan of the big fat books. I think there is an unnecessary tendency among students to try to shy away from big books and say, oh, I can't do that, or maybe only the toppers do that. It's not like that. In fact, I feel most of the toppers top because they don't really read the big books. They don't really spend a lot of time. They are very efficient in exam giving. But you have to decide whether you want to be an efficient exam giving machine or you want to be a good learner. If you want to be a good learner, I would say stay with the big books. It might not give you a great rank immediately, but eventually, as I said, 4.5 years के बाद आने वाला है जो fight, उसमें it's going to prepare you well. So if you're in second year, read Robbins. If you're in final year or third year, read Harrison's, read Love and Bailey. If you're in first year, well, I think by the time you're listening to this, the time is gone. So I won't say what you had to read. So, you need to spend time and you need to read the big books. And finally, group studies. Find some time for group discussion. That will really help you to strike a balance and give you a feedback that where are you. Feedbacks are very important when you want to develop yourself. So if you're reading in isolation and you have no clue what everybody else is reading, well, you might just easily get lost. You might like something and you might keep on reading it. You might dislike something and completely ignore it. And you might not understand something which was very simple, but just because that day it wasn't your day, you didn't understand. Friends and a good group, a good peer group help you to kind of keep on orienting back to what is necessary, what is not necessary. So keep on doing that. Along with that, I think the rest of the 2 days that you get, join your classes, go enjoy them. Don't be too serious about sitting throughout and listening to everything. Listen to a little bit. Relax a little bit, and I think keep it a little lightheaded at this point. till you reach your time of final year or internship, whenever your exam comes. I don't know when next is going to be planned for you. So whenever that exam comes, that's the time when you need to start devoting more and more time towards exam preparation. But till that time, keep it loose. Keep it. Don't tighten up everything and keep it so so strict on your schedule that you have no space, no breathing space. Keep time for yourself, and later on, once you have done your homework well, when you have read well for the 4 years, towards the end, tighten up the ropes and perform well.
Take on it.
Okay. So this is again a personal opinion that I'm going to say next. There can be, of course, the one big difference is the universities or the bodies which are offering these degrees. That's the formal difference between the two. But if you ask me between MD and DNB, practical difference आज क्या रह गया है? I would say not much. There are 2-3 things. So if you are a student who's got a rank and is about to take a choice between an MD and DNB seats, I'm talking for that particular student at that moment. What are the choices that you need to be thinking of? So one is DNB in most cases is offered in a private institute, and MD in most cases is offered in a government-run institute. That's very often the biggest difference that occurs. Government-run institutes have certain advantages when it comes to your residency. Even in undergraduation, they have advantages, but in post-graduation, the advantages are even more, out there in the open. The biggest advantage is the number of patients you will see. Also, the number of, the kind of control you will have over decision making in the government-run institutes. So for residents, I think that's a very important part of learning. So I would say MD or MS done in a government-run institute will have definite edges over DNB done in a private-run institute. That does not mean that there are not good DNB courses. If you do your due diligence in the branch of your choice, there are some really good private or charitable trust-run institutes which offer good, well-rounded off courses in DNB as well. And there are many such examples across the country. So there are good DNB courses also available. But if you ask me a general question, I would say MS or MD gets a slightly better edge just because it's a government-run college. Second difference is in some states and in some medical institutes, they have a preference. If you tomorrow go back to join as a faculty, they have a preference that they would prefer someone who has done an MD or they would prefer someone who has done DNB. This preference initially was a formal one. Now it has become more of an informal difference. If there are candidates, there could be a slight preference that an MD candidate gets over DNB. Again, this is changing with time, because in the past, the number of people used to opt for going back to government colleges or working in medical colleges, versus now with the number of corporate hospitals out there, that number has changed. If you're someone who's going to be, you're sure you're going to be doing a private practice, you're sure you are looking for a corporate-based job, not really a teaching institute-based job, then there is absolutely no difference. From the job perspective, from your further work perspective, there is absolutely no difference whether you do a DNB or whether you do a MD. There is also this one thing that people say that some institutes, DNB passing rates are less compared to MD, which I agree to. That DNB is, in the past at least it was much more pronounced. Now that difference has again come down. Clearing DNB sometimes can be a little difficult, but I feel that's not necessarily because the exams are tough. It's more because students are not always, the residents are not well exposed to learning programs in their 3 years of residency, so they are not well prepared for the exam. I've not done DNB, so I can't comment on exactly the nature of exam, but I think it more reflects on the kind of training than the kind of examination. So these are some differences. If you ask me if a student is getting both of them, which one should that student take? I would say MD. If you ask me that MD is not available but DNB is available in a good institute, should I leave that for taking an MD in a slightly lesser institute? I will say no. If there is a private institute which is of repute, let's say it's in a major city like Mumbai or in Delhi, versus you're getting MD in some peripheral institute which is not necessarily having the same kind of patient and exposure, I would say take up DNB rather than going to a periphery. So I wouldn't say that all MD and DNB are always MD better. There is a context which will apply as far as your branch is concerned, which hospital is there, which city are you talking about, and so on and so forth.
General.
So again, as I've said right in the beginning, our education systems are largely influenced by the examinations that we conduct. We as students are not always aware of it, but after, if you're listening to this and if the student has heard till this long, I would definitely expect that you have started thinking in terms of what are you doing about your learning. your learning goals are not same as your exam goals. What you learn for long term. What you do for your exam is a very short term effort to deliver a performance over there, right? So delivering a performance is exam. Learning is a lifetime thing. You do it for now, for the exam, and for later on as well. So if you ask me, what do I need to learn for PLAB, MLE or Indian exams? I would say practically you're learning the same thing. But if you ask me, is the performance being graded in the same fashion? I would say no. The tools that the examination will use are very different. For example, Indian exams would use only an MCQ based exam. The kind of MCQs will assess you more for your factual knowledge, for your understanding, and a little bit of your application. They wouldn't judge you on higher learning outcomes like how was your analysis? Are you able to create a better diagnosis? Are you able to differentiate amongst diagnosis? Those kind of goals are not really a part of our examination systems, at least in broad strokes in the Indian countries. But when you look at the US exams, I'm not completely aware of the PLAB system, but whatever I've heard, they are assessing students on higher goals. They are assessing not necessarily on the remember part and the understand part of your knowledge. Do you remember a few facts? No, they are assessing more on, are you able to reach a particular diagnosis? Are you able to understand in the clinical context? So there are OSCEs, there are clinical skills exams which are also happening over there. Preparing for that is very different from preparing for the MCQs which happen in the Indian context. So even if your learning is the same, your performances are very different. The expected bar that you have to kind of jump over for Indian exams is different from the expected bar you're supposed to jump over for PLAB or for USMLE. Does that make one exam inferior to another? I don't think so. I think the exams have been geared for the context of those particular countries and the systems which exist in those particular countries. The residency that you do in US is going to be very different from the residency program of UK, which is going to be very different from the residency program of India. And these exams, in certain way, look at the aspirations of the educators and the people who have designed these programs. They have designed it for that. So as a student, I would say you need to be sure that if you want to clear any good exam, you need to have focus. Even if I say that those 3 to 5 months are sufficient, by no means are those 3 to 5 months easy. They are a lot of hard work. And how do you expect to do a lot of hard work for 3 different types of exams? I think that would not be a good idea. It is better that a student, by the time she or he is in second year, has made up his or her mind that this is the exam I'm really looking at, and start working towards that. I repeat, your learning outcomes are not different. You're not really learning different things. The medicine would not change. Harrison's would still be followed in India or followed in US or followed in UK. But what they'll ask you out of Harrison's is going to be different. So when you start performing or preparing for that performance, you need to have a good focus. I would strongly suggest that students should kind of do their homework by the time they are in second year, so that by the end of second year they are reasonably sure the next 2 years I'm dedicating to this particular exam, not that, right? Trying out everything might just be the worst idea that you would play with. So don't do it. Is my suggestion.
In MBBS?
So I think the idea is good. I'm not sure of the implementation yet. I have yet to see the results. But whatever I've heard about it, the more elements which have been introduced in terms of ethics, in terms of introducing the clinical subjects earlier on, I think these are really very welcome changes. The execution of it and how that affects the batches, your batch and further batches, I have no clue about it. But I think as an idea, it's a very welcome idea. It's a good thing that they do. So I think the message is very straightforward. If you're a medical student, I would say please do not under evaluate your own competency. What you are capable of, what the medical students in India are capable of. I think sky is the limit. There are so many opportunities out there right now. You are staying in an era where you have everything at the click of your laptop. You go on Google and you find so much information out there. Make the best out of it. There is a race out there, and I'm not denying it. But do not let the race define what you can become. You can be far more than the race calls you to be. The race has been made for a very specific context. Don't forget that context. The context is just getting that one seat. But that's not what you are. I mean, you're not one seat. Eventually, you are much more than that. So don't lose your prime years of life running after one race. Have a good strategy in place, both to run that race and win that race when the time comes. But to enjoy your life and explore many more avenues that medical field offers you to do, you can be a great humanitarian, you can be a great organizer as you guys are becoming right now. You can be a wonderful, business analyst. I mean, not business analyst as in do a business, but someone who understands that aspect of healthcare profession. You can be someone who is a good leader. You can be someone who is understanding how to do research very well. That's something very important, very upcoming in India now. So you can be much more than just one person who gives an exam and is defined eventually as rank so and so. That's not what you are. So don't prepare for just that. Prepare for much more. Give time to your friends, give time to your families. Enjoy these 4 years. These are the best period that you'll have in your entire medical journey. So that's my message to you.
Like this video, then don't forget to physically like it by hitting the thumbs up. Subscribe to our channel because we are going to come up with new and exciting videos for you each week. So don't forget to hit the bell to get notified every time we post a new video, and click around to watch all our other videos, and we'll see you next week. Bye.